I forgot your name, don't remember where we met.
Alright guys, what is going on? It is your boy Frostyy coming at you with another video, and today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on sports. As a person that does sports myself, I feel like I can probably give some, not really advice, but just my thoughts on sports and whether you should do it and what sports I do and my stories and all that. So let's shoot for, I guess, 5 likes on this video because, you know, it's kind of a different video. I'm giving you my thoughts on sports and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit of a different video. So let's shoot for 5 likes and yeah, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, so like I said, I am a athlete myself. I wouldn't consider myself very athletic, but I would say that I am an athlete. I am a 3-sport athlete actually, which means that I do 3 sports in all 3 seasons that I can. And that's kind of like the pinnacle of athletics, I guess, besides like doing good in all of those. It's just the fact that you do all 3. That's kind of like the pinnacle of being a high school athlete, is doing 3 sports consistently year after year, which, well, I do. So you guys probably know, if you guys are in high school or recently graduated, or even if you haven't recently graduated, if you're a 50-year-old man, then you probably know what I'm talking about anyway. But obviously the 3 seasons are fall, winter, and spring. I do cross country in the fall because I'm a pretty tall, lean guy. I'm like almost 6 foot. I might be 5'11", 5'11 and a half, somewhere around there. So I do cross country in the fall, wrestling in the spring, and I'm not a very big muscular guy, but speed and agility and all that can get you pretty far in wrestling too, especially when you're wrestling with people that I am that might not be as quick, but they have a lot of strength. And in the spring, I do track. So I do one sort of tougher, sort of more muscular sport, and 2 sort of running, more sort of, I guess, yeah, running sports. So why don't I start with cross country and give you my thoughts on cross country and I guess fall sports in general. So obviously, like I just told you guys, I do cross country, which some people say that, oh, you do cross country, it's not that hard. Why don't you go do football or some other sport? And my rebuttal to that is, why don't you try to run 3.5 miles in 21 minutes and see how you fare? But people try to say that, oh, you don't play a real sport. Cross country isn't a real sport. You just run. It's not that hard. Oh, they should try to do it then. If you guys happen to think that, then you guys should probably try to do it, because it definitely isn't an easy sport at all. I'm actually recording this video on a Friday, and yesterday we pretty much did 400 repeats, which is, we have a big track behind our school that's 400 meters around, so we pretty much sprinted around that like 20 times. That's like 5 miles. But each one we tried to get it around 80 to 90 seconds. There were some people slower, some people faster. I was right in the middle around that 80-90 group 9 times out of 10. So I'm recording this and my legs feel like gelatin. They feel like bricks. I can't really, they're really sore. After the workout I could barely walk. It was bad. But my rebuttal to that, and people saying that, oh, cross country isn't a hard sport, you guys just run, is, why don't you go run and see how you do? Because it's not an easy sport at all. I mean, granted, compared to football, it might not be as physical or whatever, but it's still a very hard sport. It's kind of like swimming in the winter, and I guess that's a kind of good segue into winter sports. It's kind of like swimming in the winter. Some people don't think that that's a really hard sport, but I mean, if you go look on charts that tell you, oh, you need to do this much activity to burn this much food or whatever, swimming is always the shortest you need. Like, say you eat, this is just an example, and this probably false, but whatever. Say you eat like 6 pieces of cake, then you only need like an hour of swimming versus like 2 hours of running, 3, 4, 5 hours of biking. It's because swimming is really endurance based, because unlike running where you might have wind, swimming is in the water where you're always going to have some sort of resistance trying to push you back, which is obviously the water. But I don't do swimming. I do wrestling in the winter, which is it's pretty cardio based, but it's a lot more of physical based. It's a lot more strength as well as mental and more speed or agility based. And seeing how I'm not the biggest, strongest kid in the world, 9 times out of 10, I need that speed or quickness that I have to try to overpower my opponent just with sheer speed instead of sheer strength, because I'm not the biggest, strongest person. I feel like winter sports are probably the hardest. I mean, besides, indoor track, But we're not going to talk about indoor track because it's not actually as easy as you guys think. Still got to run, guys. Not that easy. But indoor track is kind of like that, I guess, joke sport for the season. It's kind of like, let me think of one in the fall. I feel like in the fall, cross country is kind of that joke sport, maybe. That's like, oh, you do that? Pfft, you must not be very athletic then. And then in the winter, it's indoor track, which isn't really true at all. I mean, granted, there are those things that people do that are kind of, oh, you do that? Pfft, you must not be very athletic. Kind of like, race walking or whatever. But, I mean, even that's kind of hard. I mean, granted, yeah, it's just walking, but it's kind of fast walking. It's not like, taking a leisurely stroll around your local park. It's kind of like, the stereotypical grandma walks that, like, your hips are moving more than your legs or something. Yeah, it's faster than that, and it's, kind of insane and kind of stupid, but whatever. But I feel like winter is probably that one season where it's like, oh yeah, you do a sport in the winter? Wow, good for you. I can't do half of those sports in the winter. And then we go to spring. I already said that I do track in the spring, which is another one of those running, very cardio-based sports that I'm relatively good at. I'm not the best, but I'm definitely not the worst, I guess. I'm somewhere in the middle. And spring is another one of those seasons where it's like, oh, you do a sport in the spring? Pfft, wow, you are kind of cool depending on what you do. Because in the spring there's baseball, track, golf. Depending on where you go, I think there's disc golf too, but I'm not sure where that is because we don't have it where I go to school. There's track, tennis, baseball, golf. So there's track, tennis, baseball, and golf in the spring. Golf is that one sport where it's like, oh, you do golf? You must not be very athletic then. It's like that joke sport that every season kind of has. Which I don't really like to call it a joke sport because, I mean, hey, half the people that are going to say it's a joke sport go home and sit on their couch and eat Cheetos all day instead of actually going out and being active. So I don't really like to call them joke sports. But out of all the seasons that I think are hardest, I feel like spring would probably be like the least hard, I guess, if you want to kind of put it that way, kind of like the sort of more mellow sort of season, because it's not as hard as winter or fall with some of the other sports that people do in those seasons. But it is definitely hard, and I guess that's about it for spring, because this video the recording is like almost 12 minutes and 22 seconds long now. So, in conclusion of this video, I'm definitely going to make my son/daughter do some sort of sport, at least one sport, because I feel like that's something that every kid should, not only should, but they should be encouraged to go and do sports. Because in this day and age where more and more people sit in front of a computer screen, more and more people are gaining weight faster, and as we speak I have a Big Mac box in front of me, which, isn't really very healthy obviously, but it's, in this day and age, it's more common than back when our parents went to school and did stuff, because I can tell you from what my dad says, at least, he did a lot of stuff, and sometimes I kind of wish that I could go back and see what he did and how hard it was and how he did it, because not only would it probably be a good learning experience, but it would probably make me appreciate the things that I take for granted, like this computer screen, like my Xbox, like my PlayStation, like my Netflix. But yeah, sports, if you guys don't do a sport, then shame on you. Simplest thing I can say, shame on you for not doing a sport, because the amount of people that are obese in this country is just insane, and I don't really want to be all deep and philosophical because that's not who I want to be on this channel. But if you don't do a sport, shame on you. And yeah, I guess that's about it, guys. It's been Frostyy.